For more MTG resources and articles, check out paperchampion.net.
It's Tao Chow with MTG Forge, and it's getting to be that season, and you know what I'm talking about? Christmas season. So now that it's getting to be about Christmas season, people are always thinking about, what types of gifts you can get for your favorite Magic the Gathering player. So I was looking at it, and your typical Magic the Gathering gift is going to be one of the sealed products. So, a couple booster packs, or deck builders and deck builders toolkit, or something like that. But I was thinking, there's actually a lot of cool things that you could get for Magic players that is actually a nice gift that's not necessarily a sealed product. So I'd like to give you a few ideas about things you could do, and I'll just get started right away. So the first thing I thought of is I'm going to break it down just into different price ranges, because it just depends. If you've got $20 to spend, that's going to be different than if you have like $500 to spend. So the first thing is in the $10 range. Now, typically people would just buy 3 booster packs and that would be it. But one thing is actually pretty nice is a nice set of dice. Right now, typically people use dice as counters or things like that. I do anyways, and I really like it. But having a really nice set of dice it's actually really great, and people notice it. I've had tons of comments on the dice that I use. People, they pick them up, they're like, "Oh, these are really sweet," or they match your sleeves or whatever. Another thing is to actually pick up a Silk Tower, right? It's made by Ultra Pro, I believe, and it's actually a really, really good deck box. It's about $10, and it's way better than all the other, those crappy little plastic boxes that everyone else has owned. I really like having that tower, and I've got tons of them. They basically hold all my decks now. Now, getting into the $20 to $25 range, what I'd recommend is actually some decent sleeves. So what I would recommend is some KMC Hyper Mats with the perfect fits, basically so that you can double sleeve your deck. Now, a lot of people, they'll say it seems really expensive, and it's the kind of thing that people generally don't want to buy, and because they see it as a waste of money. They're like, you know what, I've got the basic, those $5 deck sleeves, and, they're great, and I like the artwork on them, and the KMCs, they're, just plain color or whatever. But what I found is that once you start using KMC Hypermats, you're not going to really want to go into anything else. Now, I know I'm kind of inviting some trouble here because some people are going to say Dragon Shields are the best or whatever. That's fine. Whatever sleeves you want to use, it's fine. But I really like KMC Hypermats, especially for double sleeving, and it's really great. And once you get the shuffle feel, you'll never really want to go back. And so, especially for new players, getting them a proper set of sleeves is super nice. Now, in the $30 to $35 range, what I'd suggest is actually a nice playmat. You'd be surprised about how many players don't have a playmat. And it just kind of, it just makes playing so much better when you can pick up the card easily, and, your cards don't get dirty on the table, and, it reduces the scratching on your KMC Hypermats and stuff like that. So getting a nice playmat is actually is a really cool gift. And it makes for a good conversation piece. It's something that, can reflect you as a player, or you're a friend or whatever as a player. And I think it's pretty nice. So anyways, playmat, great. I think is a great example of something you can give. Now, I was thinking what to do in the sort of $50 to $80 range, and that's kind of a tough one. You could go with just a fat pack, or I guess now they call them bundles or whatever. But one thing that you could do is pick up sort of an iconic card that's not used very much. So, for example, you could do something like Damnation, right? Or a Charizard, or do pick up an Aiden Oakenshield, or an Angus Mackenzie, or a group of those guys, or something like that. Now, those cards don't go into a ton of different decks, and Charizard doesn't go into any decks really, except for just casual ones. But people generally don't use Damnation a lot or whatever. So the cool thing is that they're really iconic cards. People really like them, but they don't want to spend that kind of money on them because they don't use them that much. But they're still great in your collection, and again, it's a good conversation piece, and people people I don't really ever feel bad about owning them, even if they're not really using them. So I think getting like something like that is actually pretty nice. Also, another thing is that you could look at is like a play set of something. Like you could get someone like 2 ensnaring bridges, or something like that. Just depending on what their needs are, it's actually, those things are actually pretty nice. In the $100 to $150 range, what I'd suggest is actually just getting just the plain Chase Plains cards, the oversized cards with sleeves. Now, you could go get Plain Chase Anthology, but it's not really necessary to get the whole Plain Chase Anthology. What you could do is just actually get the planes themselves, and then just get sleeves, and then people can still play Plains Chase. That's gonna cost you a different amount depending on where you get them and stuff like that, and which ones you get. I believe there's 86 different planes, and they all cost between, I don't know, like $1 to $3 each. So like getting all 86 planes could cost you anywhere from $80 to $250. Now, if you're going to do that and spend like more than $150, just get Plain Chase Anthology. Right, like, because that comes with all the Plains cards in it, and they're going to be all near mint, and you also get like the special dice, and and you also get extra decks and stuff like that. So if you're going to buy the Plains just separately, and they're costing a ton, then just get the Plain Chase Anthology. But if you just have like $100 that you want to spend, you don't really want to go more than that, then getting just a selection of planes could actually be really cool. And sometimes you can actually get like maybe a budget, or you can kind of get a deal on it. Now, one thing is that a lot of Magic players, or a lot of gift givers, they feel bad if you're giving like a used product. Right, but a lot of Magic players understand that like a lot of these things that you're going to get are going to be used. Like, for instance, if you want a Damnation, it's like unlikely you're going to get like a brand new one, right? Like, I guess you could pick it up somewhere, like pick up the actual packs and then crack one open, and that'd be pretty sweet. But the odds of you actually cracking a Damnation from a pack is extremely low. So if you do give someone something like that, they're, especially cards, like most Magic the Gathering players understand that the card is probably going to be used, and they still value it and treasure it anyways. So what I suggest is, take a look at some of the planes, some of the more interesting looking ones. If you don't know which ones are interesting, then go to your local game store and ask them, and they could probably suggest, like top 30 or whatever, 40 different planes, and that would put you into, probably around that $100 range. So, just so you know, I actually have a cool story. I went to my LGS and asked if they had the planes, and they actually were selling them for 25 cents each. So I got 80 planes. They didn't have the full 86. I got 80 planes for $20. And many of them were moderately played, or some of them were even heavily played, like really bent corners or whatever like that. But like, who really cares? Like, I'm not collecting them. I just want to play Plain Chase. So I got them all for $20, and that's good enough for me. If you're going to go more than that, then, that really just depends. So what I'd suggest is maybe doing a combination of things, or you could just buy like a booster box with something else. So a booster box is going to cost you, like, depending on where you are. In Canada, a booster box costs you 140 Canadian dollars. That probably works out to be about $100 US right now, depending on conversion. So you could just get like a booster pack or a booster box, and a couple other things, like with double sleeving kit and playmat and stuff like that as well. Or you could just get them a sort of net deck. Now, if you're going to do that, then there's a ton of places where you can find different ideas for decks. Don't just go and look up like the last top 8 winners and just buy them one of those decks, but actually get them something interesting that they could get. Like, look at sites like paperchampion.net or MTG Goldfish, or other YouTube sites like Tellurian Community College, the Manosaurus, Strictly Better MTG, or Desolator Magic. Those are some of my go-to places for different deck ideas, and they're actually all pretty sweet. Also, don't be afraid of checking out some of the smaller sites like Kitchen Table MTG or Spectral Fox Gaming. Like, some of the smaller sites don't have maybe as much content, but sometimes they actually have some really great ideas and some really interesting things that the mainstream sites don't really offer. Anyways, If you have other ideas for different gifts or our Magic the Gathering players that are, not just necessarily sealed products, I'd really like to hear them. Throw them into the comment section, because now's the time when people are going to really start thinking about buying gifts for each other. And, let me know what's a great gift for you. Like, what would you like to see? And let's help each other find each other Magic the Gathering gifts. Anyways, if you do like these videos, remember to like and subscribe. If you do have comments, please, especially in this video, throw them into the comment section. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.